Hello! Welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. We are finally finishing Chapter 1 of The Devil. Had to take last week off because unfortunately I got the bronchitis. We are the Tautology system, and yeah. So last time, in case you missed it, one of Morgan's friends, Dr. David Asher, passed away. And Dr. Asher is also responsible for synthetic... I'm going to go ahead and say it. Synthetic life as we know it. And maybe as we don't know it, as we're introduced to Sarah, who seems to be Dr. Asher's last creation, who acts more like a person than an automated dependent. Also, last time I bought a non-fiction book because of this chapter, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. Henrietta Lacks is a black woman who had her cells preserved and used as the basis for most medical breakthroughs in the modern era. And last week, the synthetic skin that the warm-bodied automated dependents use was referred to as using the Lax Gemini genome. And let me tell you, the instant I saw the surname Lax in there, I was like, I see what's going on here. I am still a bit full of snot, so I'll do my best to read. Let's keep going. We are also playing in high roller mode, which means we only get one save. And we can't save scum. But this is fun. You coming? Right away, Adonai. Adonai is a Hebrew word. It is what golems call their creators. Once again, I am picking up what these writers are putting down, and I'm loving it. Pretty quiet elevators, huh? You could have taken the next one. It's a busy building, detective. Can't hold up everyone else on our account. Anything you'd like to grumble at me before I start? Don't touch anything. I don't care that you're wearing gloves. I have been to crime scenes before, you know. Long before the police get there in many cases. Give me one moment. I have to mute, blow my nose, and also open the Twitch dashboard. That's better. Look, Rockford asked me to not get in your way, but that doesn't mean I'm going to bend over for you. Fanfic I've seen suggests otherwise. Do you at least have the autopsy report? No. Are you seriously? I don't. She doesn't? The report should have come in hours ago. It wouldn't take this long unless the cause of death was still... Then I'd settle for a summary of the preliminary findings. An emergency call was made shortly after 8 p.m. last night via the home security system. Emergency medical services had a vertical takeoff and landing in the air. Within the minute, they landed on the penthouse's helipad at 8:08. Dr. Asher was found unconscious with low blood pressure and a weak heartbeat. He wasn't breathing. In-flight auto triage administered artificial CPR while in transit to Gatesfield Memorial. He was declared dead a few minutes after being taken to the emergency wing. I see. And the cause of death is... being investigated. Make an educated guess. They stopped breathing, so they gave him oxygen. His heart stopped pumping, so they had the machines take over. His brain activity dropped to 0, and there wasn't anything else they could do. It was poison, wasn't it? What kind? You don't know, do you? Ah, they don't know either. Like I said, ma'am, we don't have the autopsy report yet. Why are you certain it was poison, Adonai? Couldn't it have been an accidental overdose? If he had overdosed on a commercial drug, even a pre-med student would have spotted in the hospital's intake screening. They would have been able to pump his stomach, neutralize his bloodstream, and he would have lived. But he didn't live. So it must have been something deadly, a compound designed solely to kill. A fast-acting deadly poison that causes respiratory failure. The list can't be that long. Even just through process of elimination, the medical examiner should have identified it by now, unless you suspect a designer drug, don't you, detective? Why is it you're only quick on the uptake when it suits you? Nothing else makes sense, given what we know and what we don't. Hold on, I need to blow my nose again. I can feel the snot. But the CDCA decriminalized and cataloged all recreational drugs. Guess you aren't entirely clueless about politics. Let me see what CDCA stands for. Contraband Decriminalization Acts. Got it. Series of laws passed in the 2060s that decriminalize all narcotics use and established the Bureau of Narcotics Oversight to administrate the production, licensing, distribution, and taxation of drugs across the country. Overwhelmed by civil unrest and eager to replenish government coffers, the CDCA were intended to reduce the backlog of criminal cases across the country and provide much-needed tax income while also incentivizing immigration with the promise of amnesty. In what is considered a domino effect, other major nations around the globe passed comparable laws to build up their own depleted war chests, interesting turn of phrase, and revitalize their local economies. The so-called white wave of global amnesty overturned the international drug trafficking market in just a few short years. The gray wave followed soon after, as money-starved criminal organizations waged economic and literal war against multinational corporations for dominance of this new gray market. Fierce competition for government licenses to produce classic narcotics. Whoop. Dang it. Classic narcotics will emerge alongside a race to develop new, more powerful designer drugs and to monopolize on their sale in the months it would take the government to identify and legalize them. While rates of addiction and overdose deaths have dropped since their peaks in the last 2 decades, the dangers associated with untested designer drugs and drug distributors' eagerness to earn new customers has continued to fuel debate over the legacy of the CDCA and the white wave as a whole. Yeah, that sounds about right. So whatever father overdosed on should have been in the hospital's database. You need to update your definitions. You're confusing designer drugs with recreational drugs. In the literal sense, designer merely denotes any drug that is custom made as opposed to mass produced, typically outside of normal pharmaceutical industry standards. In common parlance, however, designer drugs, DDs, deeds, DEDs, are illicit narcotics formulated to produce a recreational high. While the CDCA and the white wave that followed suit legalized and taxed virtually all known narcotics, it did so alongside extensive documentation and study, and those laws could only apply to drugs that already existed. Any drug patented after the white wave must go through approval process and registration with national and international authorities, a time-consuming process that can take anywhere from 6 months to several years. This time lag creates a window of opportunity wherein organized criminal groups can step in to meet the demand for a narcotic. What has become known as riding the wave is the new normal for the international drug trade, pitting mob chemists against corporate laboratories in a race to develop newer, more powerful, more easily habit-forming drugs and cornering the market on them before legislation catches up to them. Is Nerve legal yet? Nirvana designed by who? Interesting. What is the difference? Recreational drugs are decriminalized and sold through pharmacies after years of testing and mountains of paperwork, while the average designer drug was invented last week in a 19-year-old line cook's bathroom on the other side of the globe. Hospitals can't know the proper countermeasures for an overdose of a drug that didn't exist 48 hours ago. I came across makeshift labs all the time when I was a uniform. The equipment's cheap and widely available. Black market cooks, gray market peddlers, and white-collar lobbyists all chasing each other's tail in the long line to find the next big hit. CDCA didn't change shit. More people die from ODs than ever before. Only difference is, it's their families finding them in the living room, not beat cops finding them on street corners. Real comforting, I'm sure. If it wasn't you talking, I'd say that was a criticism of law enforcement. Not law enforcement, just a law. Assuming it was a designer drug, that would certainly make things more complicated. For the insurance guys, maybe. For us, whatever he used to do it, he still killed himself. Or didn't kill himself, if you insist. I'm going to take a look around now. Yeah, sure, make yourself at home. What's that face for? Thought that there would be an outline. An outline? Around where they found father. Like in the movies? Like in film. Connect to the police's network and bring up their ARCS file. Augmented reality crime scene. I see. There is an outline. So this is where he died at the hospital. This is just where the medics found him. And it's the sensors and cameras they were wearing that create the basis for this ARCS. They didn't realize they were walking into a crime scene, but their body cams gathered data all the same. Where do we start? You can start by following behind me and trying to be as quiet as possible. I'm starting to get a feel for when she's pouting even without looking. It says here that when the paramedics arrived, he was on the floor face up. Does that tell you something? The mirroring is really cute. The mirroring is really cute. Hey, if you're going to drink a glass of poison, would you be sitting or standing when you did it? I find it very difficult to speculate on that hypothetical scenario. The seat by his body is pulled out. If he was seated when he lost consciousness, I would expect to find him slumped over on the table. But he wasn't found slumped over. No, he wasn't. And if he had been standing when he lost consciousness, I would think he would have fallen forward or at least collapsed less neatly. So what can you conclude from that, Adonai? Only that I'm missing something. Chessboard. And a data pad with a series of numbers on it. Characters on it. E4, C5. I mean, these are just chess moves. This is algebraic notation. Was he studying an old game or playing against himself? Black has checkmate in 40 moves. Wow, a robot that's good at chess. We ought to put you in a museum. I'll take your word for it. What do you mean? Do you not play, Adonai? No, especially not against David. Well, that is to be expected. Anyone who challenged Father to a battle of wits would naturally grow tired of losing. Every game starts the same. Each player has the same pieces, the same moves, the same options. It's a true test of wit, strategy, and forethought. To me, it always seemed too boring, too fair. The smarter player wins every time. And that is something you take fault with. Of course, how's a gal like me supposed to win a game like that? I always admired this view. Buildings gleam with reflections of holograms in sunlight, and their shadows obscure all the rundown, rotting parts of town. Maybe they'd be secondary. Maybe all anyone really wants is to put as much distance between them and the street level as possible. Is it possible that a witness could have seen something through these windows? Not through these windows, no. David installed wide spectrum auto tint in all his homes, all his cars. I didn't know that. Well, you wouldn't notice unless you were viewing the penthouse for more than... Why do you care so much about his windows? Police androids monitoring the scene. You almost mistake them for the real thing, the way they stand there trying to look important. Like an indoor dog taking its first trip to the park. Pardon? Why are you looking at it like you've never seen an android before? Because I haven't, in person. David didn't even let you have a mirror? Brutal. Just scan its chin if you're curious. Less of that's considered too forward or whatever. I didn't mean to click that, but... One chair knocked over, probably where David was sitting. And one chair pulled out, a party of two. Never cared much for socializing, but he enjoyed hosting. Contradictory guy. Something I'm missing? Better take a closer look. Oh. I see. Let's read this. Password locked, but already cracked by the police, it seems. All the docs were take-home safe, nothing spicy. When was it last used? 7:48 p.m. Said reading work emails only a few minutes before he committed suicide? Morbid. Saw messages marked priority that breadcrumb their way back to article. I need to blow my nose again, one moment. Warm android blood saves soldier's life. In a stunning and heroic episode, one of our nation's brave soldiers had their life saved by a noble android, and in a way no other competitor's product could. A brave private, name withheld, was wounded during a military operation whose exact nature and location is currently classified. Bleeding badly and far from the nearest triage station, he was carried to safety by his fellow freedom fighter, an Animate 16 Enforcer, one of the few warm androids being currently tested out by the armed forces. But the android didn't just sit there and wait for evac. It opened up its own arteries and pumped life-saving UD synthetic plasma into the young man's veins, stabilizing him long enough for him to reach a military hospital. I have no doubt he'd be dead if there was any other android fighting alongside him, said one commanding officer who asked not to be named. I always thought Noble was only good at making ads that look good. Now I know they've got something inside them that no one else can compete with. The story brings a well-deserved shot in the arm to Noble's stock prices and market share. With this one historic moment, Noble's warm androids have proven themselves to be worth the price tag, and then some. People in the Capitol are paying attention. Certainly an interesting idea, Senator Mathing said when asked about committing to a military contract for Noble to provide the armed forces with war models. This story's got people talking. If we just ignored our constituents' feelings on the matter, we'd be neglecting our duty as politicians. And I know none of my peers would ever try and put a price on the life of one of our soldiers. While additional details about the incident have remained closely guarded, the net is already ablaze with talk of, and then the usual thing. This is that article I've seen going around. But why would Noble have marked it as priority? Starling said they weren't in any rush to pat each other on the back over it, though they'd won themselves a real prize. It's like kinda... No, did they actually get the... They did not get the military contract. It's being considered. It's a nice fat bump in PR for Noble. One of their ads saving a soldier's life. They weren't really... I beefed it. I biffed it. I biffed it because I was looking at it too seriously and directly. Damn it. Spilled alcohol. The art shows how it looked last night before it evaporated. No foreign substances in the puddle. It's clean. So does that mean wherever this spill came from must be clean as well? Rose River whiskey, 12 years old. You recognize it? Sure. It was more than partial to the brand. It's a good brand, only a bit overpriced, which is the bargain of a lifetime in David's world. It appears that the police already tested its contents. No foreign matter present was their conclusion. Is it possible that the police missed the poison? No, even if they can't identify the poison, they can detect its presence by comparing samples of the whiskey to a bottle off the store shelf. So we can eliminate the possibility that the bottle of whiskey was poisoned. I'll have to find our smoking gun elsewhere. 2 cups, one empty, one knocked over, and one mostly empty. Look, jeez, did his guest bring them? I've seen them before in the basement liquor cabinet. He kept these lying around? I knew he regifted those crystal glasses I got him. Ark says there's nothing foreign in the upright one, so it can't have been poisoned. Results are inconclusive on the other cup, however. Looks bone dry, must have been nothing but fumes left by the time this was considered a crime scene. Just not enough there for them to test. Inconclusive could mean... Inconclusive means inconclusive, that's all. Cheer up and read me the results of the fingerprinting. Father's prints are on both cups as expected, but there's someone else's on the upright cup, so someone else must have been with him last night. Slow down. All that proves is that someone else touched the cup. Doesn't tell us when they did it. Since we don't know who the prints belong to... Adonai, why don't we know who the prints belong to? Are the prints flagged as unidentified, or... No, there's space for name, but the field is black. Shit, am I already that late to the action? Detective Reyes. Yeah? There's a second set of prints on the cups. Is there a form you'd like me to sign? Doesn't matter how nicely you ask, sometimes people just can't answer. You should know that damn well, Madam Counselor. I was afraid you'd say that. I don't understand, Adonai. What does this mean? It means that whomever those prints belong to has very proactive representation. Those prints belong to a witness, as you've guessed. You're more than welcome to their testimony. But their identity is... The department is being very considerate of the witness's privacy out of respect for their time and appreciation for their cooperation. Fine, forget the name. That easily? Subpoenas, pardon me, are always an option, but I'm short on time. What did the witness have to say for themselves, Detective? To paraphrase, they came to see Dr. Asher last night. The two of them talked and they had a drink together. Then the doctor got sick, so they activated the emergency system from the panel in the kitchen. The EMTs came and took them both to the hospital. Asher's condition got worse, although witness's vitals were normal. The witness had their vitals taken, and there should be a record of their admission at Gatesfield. And that's it. Guessing you didn't just take all that on faith. The numbers set up in most of the rooms on this floor. Everything the witness told us was corroborated by the building's own surveillance system. So yes, we can guarantee that the witness never put anything in Asher's drink. I'm guessing that I can't have the keys to the penumbra, can I? Not until the witness's lawyers are done reviewing it. Lawyers, plural? I don't have time to trade jabs at the law offices of Johnson, 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 and Johnson. Say, how about I give you their business card? The law offices of Kokler, Gustav, Prince, and Prince. I was close. No way I'll be getting any client information out of them directly. If all you bloodsuckers want to get together and tear each other apart, text me before you start. I'd like to watch. Yeah, I bet you like to watch. What? What does that even mean? I don't know, needed a moment to think. So that was it? One chat, one peek at the cams, and you've already eliminated them as a suspect? Look, they were searched. They didn't have any poison, any drugs, not even a stick of gum. Even if they somehow did have poison on them, the camera footage confirms they had no opportunity to use it. They drank from the same bottle as a dead man. As far as the department's concerned, they were nearly the second victim. They aren't dead or even ill from the sound of things. So you think he poisoned his own cup beforehand, then poured for the both of them from a safe bottle? That's what the evidence is telling us. There's nothing in the bottle or the witness's cup. After drinking from his cup, a cup he prepared himself, he fell ill and the witness didn't. Asher died with a foreign substance in his body. An unidentified foreign substance. Suicide by poison. I get that you were close and simple explanations aren't all that satisfying, but that's life. One last thing. You just said he prepared his cup himself. Did you see that on camera? He left the parlor to get the drinks and came back with his already poured. The witness says he got them from the basement. The witness says that, not the cameras. There's no cams in the lab or the basement. That seems like a security hazard. Why would Noble not set things up more carefully? It's intentional. If cams of his lab ever got hacked, outsiders could steal his IP and kick Noble's monopoly to the curb. Right, David did complain about Noble's weird protocols for combating corporate espionage. At least we can take comfort in knowing that Father wasn't alone when he died. Yeah, that's worth investigating. Seems like that's everything critical on this side of the room, which leaves the kitchen. You said there's camera footage of the dining room showing David and his guest. What about in here? Only camera in the kitchen is the one mounted on the call terminal. The console took a snap image when the witness ran in to contact emergency services. May I see it? Not unless you scrape the witness's face off the pic first. Don't tempt me. Three unwashed dishes and a single glass. Reyes, these dishes haven't been scanned for prints yet. And I just assumed you might want to do your job. Yeah, there are prints, most match the victim. There's also... Hey! Don't sneak up on me like that. All I did was walk over to you. You knocked over the salt, Adonai. Just focus on the task at hand. Didn't realize tunnel vision was a selling point on your mod. Adonai, the salt. As I was saying, the witness's prints are on that glass. That glass in the sink, they were drinking from cups in the parlor. Did you see a glass on camera? No. So when did they touch this glass? You need to toss it over your soldier. Oh, Sarah is superstitious. I love this. Witness must have thought about giving the guy some water, but he would have just choked on it if they had tried. What, do you think this glass was the murder weapon? It's bad luck, Adonai. Whacked him on the back of the head so fast it went between video frames? That's genius! You should go through the footage frame by frame to prove your theory. Sure. It's bad luck. What have you been going on about the salt? Shouldn't a machine be above petty superstition? It's not a superstition, it's an ancient wisdom. Give me one logical reason to care then. If too much salt spills on your food, it'll make you gag. Maybe it's on me for setting the bar too low there. I love Sarah so much. Oh, I'm not halfway? Well, then this'll be 3 episodes. Messy workplaces, but a pristine kitchen. David was a good cook, but only for others. Unless he had a guess, he'd happily eat instant ramen and protein bars for all 3 meals, or 2, or 1. No signs of food prep to be found, not so much as a cheese board. So whoever this guest was, they must have shown up unannounced. David's fridge. Normally I wouldn't go poking in the pantry at a crime scene, but this was a poisoning. Some white wine chilling in the drawer. Some real cheap liquor stuffed in the icebox. Old habits. Reyes, you said he left the parlor and came back with that whiskey from the basement? Huh? Yeah, that's what the cams show, yeah. There's plenty to drink right here, and unlike the cabinet downstairs, it's actually cold. Must have wanted Rose River in particular. What's that look for? You hungry? I'm an android, I do not get hungry. Are you being sarcastic? Only mostly. I thought you said you required organic nourishment. I do ingest organic substances, but that doesn't mean I experience hunger as you do. So when you don't ingest organic substances for a long time, I become tired. What a great feature. When I'm done digesting, I don't need to know. This is where the emergency call was made. What time did the call go out? 8:04 p.m. Before you ask, the witness left the parlor at 8:03. Not enough time for them to alter the scene. Wasn't going to ask that. When did the medics arrive? 8:08 p.m., remember? Hell of a response time for a penthouse. Private EMS came by air. Yeah, they landed on the VTOL pad you saw outside. Took him to Gatesfield. The very best if you can afford it. Looking around here, it seems like he could afford a lot. He got his insurance through his employer, just like most people. Caduceus's executive plan 4 isn't like most people, counselor. He had executive level? Not like most people at all. You've now had the chance to survey the crime scene. Yeah. So do you think you know what happened? Detective, is his body still at the hospital? Is his body still at the hospital morgue? Yeah, he's at Gatesfield, along with a 100 noble megs who've all called dibs. Then I'll just have to cut in line. Sarah, get me a ride to Gatesfield Memorial. What, you can do that, can't you? I can, but I need your payment information to get started. Yeah, okay, understood. On my way down. Got it. Sync complete. Set pickup for 10 minutes should be plenty. The crowd down there seems to have gotten quite large. 10 minutes to reach the pickup spot may be an ambitious target, Adonai. How bad can it be? As I approach the lobby's exit, the building's soundproofing begins to fail. The crowd has gotten bigger, but there's something else happening out there. The energy's not panicked yet. It's creeping up towards the tipping point. Are this many people pissed and noble for selling androids? The hell's got them so excited? Adonai, what does that symbol mean? And this rabble? Probably something vulgar. Which one? That heart with a bullet hole. I don't know. It's probably nothing. Based on net associations, it appears to be a symbol for the Heartbreak Killer. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Why would that freak have a symbol? Or a following? Or whatever these people are? And why the hell would they be outside David Asher's apartment? Because Noble's trying to cover up the truth! They are? Those Migs in there are scrambling to shred every document they can. We need to stick together, form a perimeter, and try to catch them when they go dump the scraps. Sarah, what are you hoping to find? Proof that Asher was killed for trying to blow the whistle. Blow the whistle on Heartbreak? Noble doesn't want the world to know that the A-16 is sentient and homicidal. You think that Heartbreak is an android? You think whoever did all that was human? This is one of those times where I do kind of wish I had like a front-facing camera or something. Because you just see me side-eyeing, like just looking off to the side. Noble's advanced prototype went amok and started killing. Start killing random people? Don't be a lamb, it only looks random. There's a clear pattern. As long as you're smart enough to see past the bullshit. Oh, okay. And how does one see past the bullshit? Stop engaging. Smart kid, she gets it. She's asking the right questions. What the hell are you talking about? No way those victims weren't related. It's gotta be deniable ops. They must have all been in DO together before getting their records bleached. Then as soon as they've outlived their usefulness. What are you, nuts? Everyone knows that the first 6 HK got to were the 6 prototypes that came before him. Warm Android... I kinda don't even want to read this stuff because I don't like giving voice to these sorts of, batshit conspiracy theories. Warm Android, so perfect, no one can tell the dev. Everyone's got a goddamn opinion. Stop seeing, start moving. These people are insane. Why don't you eat some more corn slop, asshole? You think you can be the cyberpunk without ever thinking for yourself? Think it's a coincidence victim number 6 was working on harrow crops? You're putting something in the food. These people, heartbreak. This is a goddamn embarrassment. Who am I paying taxes for if the state can't shut this shit down? What about you, Adonai? What do you think about this heartbreak figure? They're just a murderer. Should be caught and sentenced like any other murderer. But they must have some reason for doing such terrible things, aren't you curious? Why? Are some reasons for committing murder better than others? They might have experienced trauma or abuse. They might have... Millions of people experience trauma and abuse every day. Millions. And yet there's only one heartbreak. So you think they were just born that way? That's my guess. That's... unsatisfying. Sad. I don't see why it would be. Heartbreak was born like that, then they never had a chance to be anything else. If heartbreak was born like that, then none of us normal people ever have to worry about turning out like them. That kind of predestination, it means they never have to take responsibility for what they are. The state can make them take responsibility. As soon as they catch them. You make it sound so trivial. They're a dangerous serial killer. Just a serial killer. Just? If HK shot someone every day, it would take them 1,132 years and about 11 months in order to have killed 413,789 people. You did that in your head? I'm good at mental math. You counted the leap years. But what was the significance of that number? Deaths within 18 months of the Blakefort industrial disaster. Times that number by 2 for the injuries. Tack on another 183% for the birth defects. 413,000 dead. And there wasn't anything evil about it. Just human error, shoddy welding, and time. So you think that heartbreak is nothing by comparison? Perhaps that is the problem then. If they're nothing, if they represent nothing, then they can stand for whatever the crowd wants them to. Please make way. Officials are coming through. Please disperse. Keep walking, pigs. Fascists. Noble owns the cops. Only the cops they built in their factories. Very funny. Why are we tolerating this shit? Can we wade through the crowd with a nightstick to prove them wrong? You know what I mean. We're the only people in the city trying to do some goddamn good, and they all just... It's just part of our job, detective. No offense, ma'am, but wearing a police badge earns you a little more hate than... Did they give prosecutors badges? Have an ID for the parking garage. Does that count? Depends. You ever hesitate to wear it in the open? This moral relativism of yours seems like a strange philosophy for someone in your profession, Adonai. Breaking out the thesaurus on me? I'm only being realistic and humble. I love that look on Morgan. That's such a good sprite. I'm just one woman, Sarah. Whatever I do, right or wrong, it's less than a % rounding error in the grand scheme of things. Do you tell that to your clients? No, but they come to appreciate it when I win. I don't mean cops in particular. The same deal applies to anyone who works for the state. The terms are stark, but the ink dried a long time ago. and we all agreed to them. I don't recall voting for it. Well, not voting is how these things come to pass, so... Traded freedom for safety, individual rights for collective power. The state won, the citizens lost. The very least we can do is take their criticisms head on. Look, I don't have a problem with the responsibilities of authority, only with authority being challenged. But they treat us like we're the bad guys. Well, sometimes we are. Sometimes the law is wrong. So if any given individual is too small to ever affect change, so if the public's going to hate us no matter what we do, and corporations and government will trample over people all the same regardless of their character, and if we can't even be sure we're doing the right thing, what do you do, Adonai? What the hell do we do? I think it's pretty simple. It's not as complicated as you think. In times like these, in a world like this, the only logical way to live is, the only moral way to act is, do whatever it takes to win. If I'm insignificant in the grand scheme of things, I can do my worst and no one will notice. If power is inherently evil, holding back won't save your soul. Just fight with both barrels, and trust the opposition to do the same. Winner takes all. Yeah. I'm going to use this as a quick moment to take a break because I absolutely need to use my inhaler and also use my nasal spray. So I'll be back shortly. And we're back. And my nostrils feel significantly clearer, and I no longer feel like I am talking like a nasally like preteen. So, you know, significantly better. Whew. All right. Ugh, thank you. You're a lifesaver. And the next time that bridezilla texts you, just turn your phone off. Chatty guy must have been due to go on break. He tried and failed to find the witnesses' medical record. His datapad had the name blacked out. I did see they have Caduceus Executive 3, more expensive than David's, which means they most likely... How did you do that? You need to hold the button to get the doors to close faster. Mashing does nothing. That is not what I meant. There were many others who arrived before us. How did you get down here so quickly? Well, I didn't do anything. It was that nurse who escorted us. Yes, but you managed to get a stranger like him to help you with so few words, so little information. I don't think you ever even gave him your name. Haven't you heard of the golden rule? Of course I have. Treat others how you want to be treated. Wrong. Treat others how they would want to be treated. He wanted someone that he could vent to. He wanted someone to pay attention to him. And he wanted to feel appreciated, which meant he'd be eager to help given the chance. Even just reading someone's mood is quite difficult. How can you know how another person wants to be treated? There are no mind readers. No one can ever know anything about what anyone's thinking. Maybe not even themselves. It doesn't matter if they're your parent, your twin, your lover. It'll always be a gamble. That is not a very comforting sentiment. Well, I think it's fun. Only because you're good at it. How did you get good at it? Same as anything. Observation and practice. This is how we got good at it. Okay, I might still be full of snot. I have to think about how Morgan was in high school. because holy crap. I think I'm identifying with Evangeline Morgan a bit. You must have been observing and practicing for a very long time then. I was not on Reddit in high school, Astrid. So we proceed down the hall, bear left, look for the fourth door. I'm gonna open the one that says Morgue on it. Okay. Immediate reaction. Hot woman. Secondary reaction. That's a centipede tattoo from how long it is, and it's looping over multiple times because it's going over this shoulder twice. This is an artificial arm that starts about here. But it also looks like it has pieces that are put on top of it. Because, like, it looks like this part is kind of more of a doll-like structure, and then this part seems to be shielding and maybe some sort of UI interface. But also pretty goth lady. Oh, hey! Come on in. Don't stand out there in the cold one, be accurate. Sorry about the chill in here, but I run a little hot. And you can see my roommates never complain. Yumi Sato, medical examiner. Dr. Sato, just the lady I wanted to see. Though I didn't expect I'd get to. The fact that they've been assigned a medical examiner, not some ad or junior means. Oh, you can just call me Yumi, and you're Morgan. I represent the deceased. The deceased? Oh, the deceased. Asher D. This is the worst part about being full of snot, is that you stay full of snot. Wait, really? That's, weird. I thought this time slot was scheduled for a group of noble PR people who... I know. Weird, right? Well, what the hell do I know? I was getting tired of hosting Megs anyway. Gotta finish typing up this report before we talk shop. In the meantime, feel free to make yourself at home. Alright, those are garbage. What's this? The hospital's getting renamed. No, guess it's some other hospital that got snapped up. In a ribbon-cutting hospital renamed to thank Ikariwa family. Ikariya. Bleh. In a ribbon-cutting ceremony held uptown today, Plotter Memorial Hospital was formally renamed the Northeastern Ikariya Memorial Complex in recognition of the family's incredibly generous, I'm really stumbling over words today, generous donations over the last several years. It's the latest in a string of philanthropic efforts by the family to result in a name change, after they paid for the renovations to the orchestra hall and the retrofitting of what used to be known as the Scout Arena. But it wasn't so long ago that the Ikariya were known for drawing blood, then donating it. Back before the 50s, they had a fearsome reputation for cutthroat business practices that had their business rivals going so far as to accuse them of involvement with organized crime. After the founding of Renigen Medical over 25 years ago and its subsequent sale, the Ikariya have moved out of the business world and into the upper echelons of society that are sometimes mockingly referred to as the Neobility, a generation of newly minted aristocrats born from the unique and chaotic economics of the mid-21st century and the Red Decade. When asked her opinion on those who'd label her family House Ikariya at the hospital's renaming ceremony, Renigen board member Mireille Ikariya had this to say: "In this country, anyone can make a name for themselves so long as they're willing to put in the work. Mock nude money all you want, but the truth is that success is all about reinventing yourself. And the only ones uncomfortable with that are the usual thing. The Icaria. Guess they weren't always in the same line of work. Now they're plastering their name wherever they get themselves a new image. All the neo-ability are eager to prop up their image wherever they can. But that must go double for the Icarias, assuming the truth about their criminal past is anywhere close to the rumors. Dang it! Didn't want to do that. These dead bodies? One would hope so. I only meant that I'm surprised to see them stored here. Suggests a backlog, which suggests a higher murder rate than the public data would lead one to expect. Do you only examine bodies for the police doctor? Oh, I wish. Now, most of my job involves confirming COD on natural deaths for insurance adjustments. Insurers want to blame the mod for failing. Mod makers want to blame the stiff for not exercising enough. Family says the company insurance plan would pay for mods, but not a gym membership. Yeah, that whole wall there is suspected defective liver mods, suspected leaking internal bio batteries, suspected CCIC, climate change induced complications. You can prove that climate change contributed to an otherwise natural death? Very, very rarely. If it can be proved, what does that mean for the family of the deceased? Plus or minus 14% on the life insurance payout. I mean, it's most of what I do, and I don't dislike my job. It's just, so much of what I do just boils down to telling a bunch of cheapskates how to split the dead man's bill. It's enough to make homicide feel like a breath of fresh air. So surprising. Accidentally clicked that. Trying to see, is there anything else? That's a lot of screens. There's gotta be diminishing returns on productivity. Why do you have so many monitors, ma'am? Can't just ask someone that. Good question. Every quarter when they do inventory and budgeting, they ask me if I need anything, and I never do, so I submit a blank form. But I guess a while back there was a +1 in a spreadsheet somewhere no one's ever corrected it, and so, boom. I get 4 new monitors every year. Do you run out of things to use them for? Sometimes, but this year I've started running 2 dramas at once when I'm doing rote work, which helps. Watching 2 television shows at the same time helps you do rote work. Helps me use up the screens. I see. I hate how snot-filled I am right now. Alright. Right, okay, so what's up? Thanks for your time, Dr. Sato. My first question would be, what was the cause of death? Oh wow, hi there, cute android. I didn't even realize it was really cute, and the skin is, that's remarkable. Even just looking close, you can tell they really are warm. It's not quite human body temperature, but they've come a long way. The early gens all looked flush. Felt like they were always running a fever, and they ran like it too. Even 2 years ago, the average warm android only lasted... Sorry, but the circumstances surrounding this particular case call for expediency. Right. So what can I tell you? Let's ask about the talk screen. The police mentioned a talk screen. Yeah, that's the thing. They ran a talk screen when he first arrived. Typical diagnostic intake procedure. Based on the emergency call, they figured he must have overdosed on something, but the talk screen gave them nothing. After he died, we performed the broadest screenings possible. Nothing. So were you forced to conclude this was a natural death? I didn't give up that easy. I took blood samples and compared their makeup with what was on record from his previous medical history, and I managed to isolate a single non-naturally occurring chemical compound that wasn't there before. What was it? Some exotic toxin from a different hemisphere? I wish. Ran it through every available database we have access to. And even a few I only sort of have access to through some friends. Not only does it not match any known poison, it doesn't even match the chemical makeup of any registered compound. So a designer drug, huh? That seems to be the best explanation. What the hell did you do, David? You said it didn't match any registered compound. What about compounds that aren't registered? Those friends of yours, private sector folks? Yeah, in pharmaceuticals. If one of them patented a new compound, a new drug, what would keep its formula from going on the record? In the private sector, intellectual privacy is the norm, so you expect it to protect your research aggressively. Patent first, find a use later? Yeah, patent would have to at least describe your compound in brief, but depending on what country you file in. I've heard it may be considered prudent to keep the actual chemical makeup off the file. Smart, using international IP law as your own personal minefield. How so? Whenever you're ahead, patent out as much as you can, as fast as you can, and bury the formulae so no one knows where it's safe to walk. Anybody small and ambitious comes along, finds a new drug they're excited about, you flip up your card, let them know you came up with the idea years ago, and you'll give them a death by 1,000 court dates if they so much as blink. Wouldn't work on anyone your size or bigger, they could punch back. But for the rest of the field... Wow, you corporate lawyers are scary. I'm not a corporate lawyer, so you came up with that strategy just now? So it's possible that this poison is actually a known substance, something that the hospital could have easily identified if it wasn't considered a trade secret. Yes, unfortunately, that is a possibility. I think I know what it is. Still, just because a drug is new, that doesn't mean it's original. Does the effect that this compound had remind you of any other drug? Maybe one that's prescription only, or a controlled substance? One you might know by another name, but with a patented structure? Sorry, sweetheart, it's a general depressant. There are a lot of drugs that have that effect on the body, and they come in all shapes and sizes, from all kinds of places. The effect was unremarkable. What about its strength? Could you estimate how much of this stuff he had in his body all told? Not precisely, no, not without detailed knowledge on its half-life. But I guess it must have been about 20 milligrams? Is 20 milligrams a lot? Not for a medicine. So this wasn't just an overdose of something relatively harmless then. No, not if 20 mil was enough to crash his entire nervous system. Were we able to determine the cause of death? Well, cause of death, sure, we got that much figured out at least. Why doesn't that sound particularly reassuring? Dr. Asher died of respiratory failure. Not enough oxygen in the blood, not enough blood going to the brain, root cause being widespread depression of the central nervous system. What would the symptoms be? What would it have looked like? Lightheadedness followed by dizziness, then headache, slurred speech, exhaustion, loss of consciousness, then finally respiratory arrest. Report shows that the EMTs tried intubation, then resuscitation through electrical stimulation repeatedly. By the time he got to the emergency room, they were desperate enough to attempt direct artificial blood oxygenation, but it was too late. And you're certain of all this? Oh, well, most of it, sweetie. Most of it? Yeah, it's turned into quite the puzzle, and I'm used to having more pieces to start with. I was surprised that a man as rich and famous as him didn't have any kind of biomes, but his files show he wasn't a viable candidate for modding. Yeah, that's right. Without that kind of first-hand tech, we don't have nearly as much data as we'd like. But he was extensively monitored from the moment the EMTs arrived. We're certain about our conclusion. Did you find anything else unusual about his body in your examination? Cuts or bruises? No injection sites, nothing in any cavities. Nothing at all, huh? Thank you, Yumi. Of course, so you ready to view the body? We could skip it if you want. I know most people get squeamish around corpses. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I continue to love these shots. Okay then, let's get started. I'm continuing to pick up what this game is putting down. Alright, I'll just step out for a moment to give you some privacy. Yes, please, thank you. Last time we talked was on a Sunday. You were complaining, I remember that. It's the principle of the matter. right. You had ordered this cheap piece of shit sculpture or something by mistake. It came damaged and you wanted to send it back for a refund. I genuinely reminded you how with your salary, it was literally not worth your time. And I'd kindly offered to throw it out for you since you're having so much trouble letting go. You're only offering because you want to see how loud it sounds shattering at the bottom of my trash can. I denied it, even though you were right and it was obvious. Should have let you have that one. I thought he would look different. But he looks exactly the same as I remember. His skin is pale and he's very still. But his face is the same. His hair, his hands. You're expecting something more drastic? The last time I saw him, he was alive. He smiled, and he told me he would see me soon. Now he is dead. Something is gone, and I can't find the difference. I'm trying to look harder, but I think I might just not be capable of it. I wonder why. Why was I created to not be capable? Could be an issue of skill, or maybe it's not something that can be seen no matter how hard you look. But it's there, I guarantee it. I've seen the transition enough times to be sure that between life and death, the distinction has significance. To the dead at the very least. You're going to smoke here, now? I'll pay the fine. That's not the issue. You're expecting me to fall to pieces? Real boys grieve in all kinds of ways, Pinocchio. And some don't grieve at all, it seems. I'm a cold woman. Sorry to disappoint. The hell? Why won't this thing light? Adonai, you have your cigarette backwards. Alright, that's back into cold storage for him, so need anything else? Can you send me the chemical makeup of that compound you isolated? Sure, for what it's worth. Let me just... It's got carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen with hexagonal structures. So it's organic, but there's a number of metallic elements too. And if you had to speculate on its intended use based on what we know of its structure, well, it certainly acted like a depressant, binding to receptor pathways and affecting the balance of neurotransmitter reuptake. Depressants are pretty rare in the designer drug scene. True. People are always looking for a higher high or a crazier trip, but a more powerful depressant will just make you fall asleep. Not much need to hit up the gray market for that kind of experience. No, there's not. I see. Thanks again. You've been extremely helpful during a difficult time. Hey, anything you need, give me a ring. That's very generous. Rockford's orders have got me on call, so I'm already getting overtime for the whole weekend. Glad to hear it. Goodbye, Yumi. And goodbye to you, Greenie. My name is Sarah. Nice to meet you, Sarah. I'm going to take another brief break so that I can take some oral Mucinex because, unfortunately, the snot isn't going away and I need to do something pharmaceutical about it. And we're back. Yeah, the art on the screen always remains by Leos, who does fantastic work for us. Up on-ramps and down off-ramps, above skywalks and under tram lines. The buildings get progressively more polished as we head into the more economically developed part of the city. Corporate territory, national headquarters for the likes of Howe Industries, Lockhoon, Tethys, each of them sheltering their own micro-city of employee accommodations beneath their skyscraper shadows. Whale Fall. The entirety of the ocean floor coming together to feast and grow and live. Live off the fetid, rotting fat of the leviathans that swallow generations of people by the mouthful. Weight is commonly listed, and my weight is... Do I really have to disclose that? Noble lays claim to one of the largest shadows in the city, a towering nerve center for the whole nation's android industry. It's meant to be intimidating, I'm sure, but today I'm glad that Noble keeps such a sizable physical presence here. I need answers about David and his work on Sarah. Answers I'd never get browsing the company website or speaking to a representative. And I know this game is being really serious right now, but all I can think about is that one quarterback from 2020 screaming representative into a phone while trying to call Pizza Barn. I'm going to have to send this screenshot to Ileana to just be like, representative, representative, representative. On Desert Bus, they read 17776's Chapter 10, which is about that one football game. And it was really good because Graham and, Paul hasn't read 17776, so Paul read 9's part, which, as the system that read 9's part while Ileana read for 10 and Juice. It worked so well. Also, Graham as Juice was hilarious. But this is what you get for being bored and French. Synopsis, relationships. There are typically trivia sections as well. Should I start there? Noble will have their guard up, of course, but even that will tell me something. Where they let me walk, who they let me talk to. No, Ileana wasn't on Desert Buzz, but Ileana was who read 17776 with us the first time, and 20,020. Which is why Ileana was very excited to read the chapter about New York City with us because of Juice's wrong opinions about bagels. History. Their efforts at performative transparency and clumsy obfuscation will... How did you know my father? What? I'm sorry, did I interrupt your brooding? No. What did you ask? My father. I knew you were his friend. But what was your relationship like? Can't you just scroll through our socials? Father avoided social media. And your online presence is... not significant. You saying I don't have enough followers? Essentially. Get dunked on. We went to the same college. You studied programming? No, I studied all kinds of different things as an undergrad, but not technology. Is that a good way to prepare for law school? I wasn't preparing for law school, or anything else, really. David, though, he had talent, and he knew he wanted to do something with it. He studied programming, robotics, discrete math, cybernetics. What classes did you share then? Business ethics. Wow, someone taking an ethics course? While making artificial intelligence? Wow! Wow! That's how you can tell this is a work of fiction. I was the second best student in the class, and he was the first. He was the one who asked the most questions. Not sure about his actual ranking. He found the course challenging, and I clearly didn't, despite being younger. Guess he felt burned. He'd come up to me after class to argue, and sometimes ask for help. Father always talked about socializing like it was a chore. It was kind of you to give him a chance. What, like I was some kind of social butterfly, the belle of the ball? You weren't? One Sunday night, he knocked on my door all panicked, saying he was in bad shape for his tech course. There was a midterm or something the next day. I couldn't make heads or tails of the material, but I did my best to at least quiz him. He wasn't satisfied, though, wanted to cram the rest of the night. Father had to cram for an undergraduate midterm? Did I say something scandalous? He's been called the founder of modern programming. Yeah, well, even founder types can have a poor time management when they're 21. True. was already fried by that point. It wasn't hard to tell what he was really asking for. So I went and stole a study aid for him. You stole a controlled substance just to help him with studying? No, that'd be insane. I just pocketed some breath mints from the common room. Told him to pinch his nose and swallow fast cause the taste is so strong. You gave him a placebo. He already knew the content as good as he ever would. What he needed was to sleep. He could barely keep his eyes open by the time I got back from my daring heist. Didn't take much convincing for him to rest his eyes just until it kicked in. And the test? B+, I think. Surprised that father stayed close with you after that. You stole and lied to him. I stole and lied for him. And David understood that. He was good at understanding things without me having to spell them out. But I guess that's not the kind of thing that gets passed down through programming. Anyway, we kept in touch after that. First year of grad school, he published this paper, The Turing Solution, a framework for programming adaptive linguistic heuristics. One of his advisors came up with that title. David thought it was way too cocky, but still hasn't failed any known Turing tests in the years since. Don't act like you're the one who deserves credit for it. Called me one weekend asking for advice on how to handle all the attention. Job offers, interviews, apprenticeships, invitations to immigrate. What did you tell him? I don't remember telling him anything, actually. A lot of our conversations went like that. He would talk to me about whatever professional or personal problem was stuck in his head that day, and I would nod while he wore himself out. By the end of the conversation, he'd thank me, even though I hadn't offered a single word of advice. Morgan was David's rubber duck. Now I want... Wait, no shit, I swear I've seen Art of Morgan as a rubber duck. He took Noble's offer and they took over his education, paid him to work on his master's during the day and attend corporate training at night. And whatever else Noble may be, they were smart enough to start listening to him early. You are referring to his one-point doctrine. Quality over quantity. Simple and elegant, just like his code. Simple and elegant, but an anathema to a global corporation with supply chains designed for maximum capacity and just-in-time manufacturing. But obviously they got over their distaste fast enough. In the span of a few years, Noble's gone from making manual labor ads for meager profit to being the world leader in intelligence as a service. Oh, that feels so bad to say and read. What? Like, I just hate any term that is noun as a service. It's... Ugh. Even as he was making money hand over fist, he still kept in contact with a nobody like me. I moved to the city for my apprenticeship. He helped me put a down payment on my apartment, then made up excuses as to why he couldn't help me move boxes. So is that enough detail for you? Thoroughly convinced that he and I were, in fact, friends? I am. But Adonai, the favor that you owe him, what was it for? That's private, understand? I have zero interest in talking about it with you. Say you understand. I understand, Adonai. We will be arriving. Shall I send word ahead? Just tell them that David's lawyer is here. I've been here before. Sat right here in this lobby, waiting for David to come and treat me to lunch. At least I think it was this lobby. Could have been some other floor. Could have been an entirely different building. All these corporate towers of Babel feel like interchangeable fractals to me, folding in on themselves in patterns of narcissistic paranoia. So monumental in the scale of their hubris, they needed to use non-Euclidean geometry when drawing up the blueprints. The greatest minds of each generation coming together just to find the most expensive way to shove their heads up their asses. Adonai, is something bothering you? Just doing the math on how long we'll be kept waiting here. Apparently, someone will be here shortly. So maybe if I pass the time by glaring around the place, it'll improve my mood. They changed the logo again. Opal Electronics. How's it feel stepping in here? Is this some kind of religious experience for you? It's just the corporation where my father worked. Careful now, they'll burn you for heresy against the company. You said it again, the company, as if it's a proper noun. You're mimicking the employees, aren't you? So can't obey simple orders, but it can pick up on that? Is it just a part of the corporate culture? Noble's one of the biggest corporations there is, one of the biggest there's ever been. We mere humans can't hope to escape the gravity of anything that size, no matter where you live or how far off the grid you think you are. So imagine what it's like working for them. You live in company dorms, work in company quarters. Wherever you go, the logo's above your head. You eat, sleep, and breathe on Noble's timetable at its discretion. When you spend your whole life inside of it, Noble must feel big enough to be the only company there is. Yeah, that's to think this is only one room. This complex is so massive that it doesn't even feel man-made. Like it was carved out of the rock by waves, like it's always been here. That's the con. If this place was actually natural, there'd be birds everywhere. Hadn't considered that. Why aren't there birds in here? Probably because of what they do to the ones that get in. I'm kidding. Though I don't have a better explanation. Damn it. So much energy, so many people, so intent. You kidding? It's Saturday. The place is half empty. But doesn't everyone work on Saturdays? All the parents do, so they don't need to find childcare on Sunday. Everyone else flips a coin, I guess. All these people for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. What could they all possibly be doing? Making work for themselves. You can be very cynical, can't you? Yeah, I'm terrible. But that guy over there's just been jiggling his cursor for the last 20 seconds. Whoever comes to greet us better have a pulse and some goddamn authority. My mood's starting to sour, and if they just send me the first link in their infinite chain of corporate bureaucracy, I'll make them wish. Morgan? That's me. Hey there. Android Manufacturing Quality Control Eastern Division. Evan Dawes. Evan Dawes, he says, like it's an afterthought. What's a name compared to your place in the hierarchy? You seem familiar. Have you... I'm David's lawyer. Oh, then we must have... Apologies. Let me first say just how sorry I am about his passing. You and everyone else at the company must be going through a lot right now. It's a proper noun. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. You're welcome, but it's no big deal. Everyone's on the razor today, but what else is new? Compared to PR or legal right now, our workloads in QA are... Never mind, how can I assist you? Shortly before his passing, Dr. Asher began the process of registering this android. Yes, that is correct. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the job. Look at that. It's definitely custom. Gee, you think? Good thing I sought out an expert. Warm, it goes without saying, reminds me of the A16 Premiere, if anything. The barcode is clearly printed, no visible defects, but you're right, it doesn't correspond to anything we've got on file. Well, they sent you to the right man for the job, now we just need to go to the right place. Not far, I hope? It's in the building. In the building, that could mean anything from down the hall to half a day's hike. The production line on B9 should have everything we need. You do manufacturing inside your corporate headquarters? B9's a fully functional production floor, but is only built for demonstrative purposes. New clients make deals upstairs about how many and in what shape and size. Then they come down to the basement to see how the sausage is made. They have enough money to build a fake factory just for guests? Smart! As long as you're only giving tours and not giving away company secrets, don't need to worry about that. We take intellectual security very seriously around here. No kidding. There are 11 cameras on us at the moment that I can see. Who knows how many pairs of modded eyes are aimed our way. Clearly nothing happens here without the almighty company knowing about it. So if they try and claim ignorance about anything, it's gonna piss me off. Lead the way. Really is fully furnished down here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's pretty rare to get to see all this in person, you know? Would you mind terribly if I looked around for a moment? No problem. I've got some prelim paperwork I need to handle anyway, so have at it. Better take full advantage. I need more than cursory knowledge if I want to figure out where Sarah came from. Why David wanted me to take custody. Don't look around. You stay put in the meantime. Ad and I? Wouldn't want to lose you among the rest of the merchandise. Damn it! This seems to share some components with that coffin Sarah was napping in. Dawes does quality insurance. Is it some kind of Android calibration device? It's probably what he'll use to register Sarah. Looks a little... Is Sarah tall enough for it to recognize her? Damn it! What's being built out there? Our top-of-the-line brand-new bestsellers, the Animate 16 warm. It's kind of cold out there. Keep the factory floor refrigerated. Slows the organics already tuned metabolic activity to a minimum. Explains why the room doesn't smell like rotting flesh. The flesh out there is only somewhat rotting. Slowly. Just why I'm surprised to see metal. Oh, well, all the A16s have alloy endoskeletons. The organics are layered on later in the process. Sounds like what Sarah told me about herself. Maybe she really was the A16's prototype. It's hard to imagine bridging the gap between her and these scattered doll parts. I get that you can grow just about anything from Lax Gemini, but how do you get the synthetic and the organic to work together? Yeah, that was our first concern when R&D began work on the worm concept. The 1.0s were real skin with synthetic muscle. That was a horror show. Metal pulling on skin was just great. For 2.0, they worked backwards. Organic muscles, organic skin, but digital signals on organic hardware was a dead end. Didn't the muscles flex when you pass an electric current through them? They'd flex and unflex, sure, but that's not nearly precise enough for facial expressions. They looked like puppets strung up on live wires. We used the test footage to haze interns, actually. Wow! You must have figured something out. The A16 wouldn't look out of place on the runway. Thank you, we try. We ended up reaching out to mod companies. We actually just bought out half a dozen of them, but... right. They figured out how to get the human nervous system moving mechanical limbs decades ago. So we just need to get a mechanical nervous system to move living limbs. Very clumsy attempt to avoid using the word human. High-precision mods are slotted straight into the nervous system. They receive their input from neurotransmitters, not bioelectricity. So you had to do the opposite. Exactly, we create a synthetic neurotransmitter that our androids could use to communicate with organic flesh. I'm picking up what the scheme is putting down. Where did that breakthrough come from, Dr. Asher? Partly. He led a team that built the motor neurons in this analogy. They carry commands to the central nervous OS, from the central nervous OS to individual muscles across the chassis. But the synthetic analog serotonin. That was actually an old brainchild from the VP of Android Futures, Helen Young. I see what's happening here. I understand what's going on. It would be better if I actually had Brennan's monologue from Yes or No memorized right now. But I see what's happening here. I get the picture. That would also explain why the mood was so tense. So I assume that the substance that was found inside David is the synthetic serotonin, which is why they were worried about it being in a soldier, because if it is a patented but trade secret molecule, it being inside of a human means very complicated things as far as law goes, which is along the same lines of why Monsanto sues the shit out of everyone whenever, like, another farm, accidentally gets their bioengineered seeds in the wind or whatever. And stuff like that. Young. Hasn't David mentioned a Dr. Young before? Sounds impressive. She's one hell of a biochemist. Or she was, I guess. Not much time for individual lab work when you get to her kind of pay grade. So Young collaborated with David on the technology that enabled warm androids. As I thought, whatever went into Sarah that makes the android so distinct, he couldn't have taken sole credit for it. Okay, Young was also clearly the witness. Young, did he partner with her on this? Inhaler left on the desk. Probably a half dozen empty ones in one of the drawers. Dawes, the inhalers, they're distributed by the company, correct? Oh, yeah, HR handles it. They personalize your dosage and prescription and update it based on performance and job fulfillment reviews. Other companies do it the same way? Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's trying to keep pace with each other, so can't have your employees losing focus on the job. Costs you who knows how much in lost efficiency. Sorry if this is insensitive, but given what happened to David, are overdoses common in the company? Yeah. Yeah, he says. Overdoses, that is, not hospitalizations or deaths. It's all pretty organized these days. These days? Man, back when I started in consulting, pretty much everyone had an embarrassing story from their first 2 years where they popped a few too many greens and missed the on-ramp. Popped greens? Yeah, it used to be pills. Green to get you going, yellow to keep you there, swallow red after brushing your teeth and get into your bunk fast. But yeah, the inhalers are a huge improvement, like going from torches to the light bulb. They sync straight to your personal biomes and adjust dosage in real time. Overdoses are way down. That's great to hear. The trainees under me don't realize how good they've got it. Kids probably won't even have to learn how to purge. Yeah, I know, right? I don't like that. There's something out there that caught my eye when we came in. Very familiar shade of crimson. Let's go through the glass. Out on the floor, there are temperature-controlled fluid tanks. Through glass and plastic throws an eye-catching starlit that transitions into... So yeah, the blood towards the end. You mean the oxidant? Yeah, relatively late in the process. Something out of place? Androids have blood even if it's not officially labeled as such, but it isn't red. It's pink. Sometimes milky, sometimes neon, occasionally garish, but pink. I just didn't think the oxidant would be red. Oh, right, sorry, I barely noticed it at this point. The color's natural, comes from the biomanufacturing process. That chromofuge out there removes the byproducts to waste the excess pigment, changing it from blood red to psychopop pink. Without that chromofuge, our android's flesh would come out looking all the wrong colors. That may be true. Probably isn't, but it may be. But I have a simpler explanation. Blood is primal. The side of it carries weight. They change the color of their product's blood so that when an android gets a bottle broken against its face, no one bats an eye. Feels like I've seen this before. That's right, there was one in David's lab. That's the nanograde elementary manufacturer, nanofacturer for short. A real high quality piece of machinery. Each of them built in-house by Randock Mechanics. What does it do? Nano level flash fab. Basically a 3D printer for nano machines. Build nano machines in your factories to use in your androids? The raw materials are cheap, literally elementary, so no sense getting them shipped in. It's mostly the medical models that make use of them. Inject a couple thousand nanites into a patient's bloodstream, run diagnostics, and provide a solution. 3D printer for nanomachines. So what kind of ink does it use? Silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. Building blocks. They feed into the nanoprinter and it assembles the machines particle by particle. Like a ribosome building structurally complex proteins out of chemically simple nucleic acids. Must be time consuming. You would think, but Randock cracked the code on parallel microfacturing. The inside's crystalline, sprawling like an ant's nest. Raw materials enter at one of the thousands of different entry points, combining and recombining at intersections. The finished product ends up at the center, drips out in liquid solution, distilled nectar, swimming with millions of nanites in just 2 minutes. Nectar? It's sticky? It can be depending on the desired output, but the door vacuum seals while it's cooking, so don't worry. It's completely spill-proof. What a relief. Not exactly a box of paper clips David could just have brought home from the office one day. Must have bought his own for some reason. Ooh. What do we got on this data pad? Some kind of write-up? On the subject of Sullivan's Peak. Much of our world today, and in fact much of the world's economy, is heavily influenced by the uncanny valley. The thought experiment provides a simple and easily applied explanation for the gaps we see in the otherwise wide spectrum of automated dependence that assist us in nearly every industry on the planet. It's a very simple primal truth to it. We like things that resemble the living, like cartoons and puppets and toys, and we like things that are damn near indistinguishable from the living, like whatever name Noble's latest product serving the soul world. But there are deep, deep trenches between the two ends, where products are universally appalling to human sensibility. The uncanny valley will no doubt remain a useful tool for teaching, marketing, and design for generations to come. While we are already seeing ways in which it fails, it is becoming increasingly clear to us that the space between nearly indistinguishable and truly indistinguishable is much wider than we expected, and it may not be the only part of the map we must fear. I propose we bridge these gaps in knowledge by looking to the speculative fiction of Robert J. Sullivan, who in his most well-known work, Equal Under One Sky, described a concept which hereafter has been called Sullivan's Peak. Through the lens of his characters and their so very divided world, Sullivan demonstrated that the uncanny valley does in fact have its own peak on the other side, a point past which making an artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make the user experience more uncomfortable, more difficult, and more fraught with moral pitfalls. Once you reach Sullivan's Peak, traveling any further only has diminishing returns. The implications of this idea are far-reaching. We will very soon reach a point at which the designers of ads can only make their creations less lifelike or less likable. A hard stopping point for technological progress. Surprised to find reading material like that around here. Are they passing it around as a gag, or are they actually afraid of Sullivan's Peak around here? Noble must be... Dang it. If the peak does exist, they'll be coming up on it fast now that androids are born. This entire product line, maybe their entire industry could go bottoms up. People start to think it's cruel. Oh, I did get it right. If there is any indication of where their androids are headed, I could see some people getting comfortable. All done, you ready to get the ad handled? Thanks for humoring me. Can you have it step onto the scanner? As he says. Understood. Right then, what are we looking at here? Whoa. There's a lot to unpack here. We theorize that it may have been Asher's pincushion. Pincushion, huh? That would explain some of what I'm reading here. What language is that on the screen? Tess. You know, Tesseract, all Noble products and... well, pretty much all products, period, are programmed in Tess. These are read and write, stay compliant. This model, what's it go by? Sarah. This Sarah model. It's got everything the 16th line has, that's for sure. Organic skin, hybrid muscles, advanced facial processing, and emoting. But there's a lot crammed in here that's still in development, like in the idea phases. Solar cell hair strands, decentralized redundant power, mental and physical overclocking with extended tolerances. Data storage is so large that I can't... No, oh wow, he had to measure it using... hell of a poker face. Wait, decryption and signal hijacking? That's... hacking? Essentially. Does that mean it could hack its own tenants? Oh no, that's unthinkable, literally, for an ad. For an ad to break its tenants would be like you stepping into traffic, or dropping a baby. Even if you're physically capable of it, it's not something you'd ever choose to do. Don't say that to Evangeline Morgan, my dude! Some people do walk into traffic. Psychotics, addicts, the mentally ill. Does that mean they're androids? Well, no, there aren't crazy androids, so yeah, I guess my analogy doesn't hold up. That's okay. So it can't hack itself, but is given the ability to hack other systems. The industry line is that such a capability could be an option in certain emergency scenarios. Breaking through the firewalls and encryption of surrounding electronics to broadcast directly to police or military channels. Speaking of military, this musculoskeletal setup is drastic. I've never seen this on a consumer model. Can you lift a car or something, Sarah? Most cars, it would depend on the center of gravity. Lady, this Sarah could wrestle a public disturbance walker and come out on top. Sorry, now I'm just thinking about Colonel Gentleman's list of toys he wishes he had as a child but weren't invented yet. Like the AT-AT Imperial Walker. Which? The Scooby-Doo Monster Game. Stay Alive, the survival game. Anyway, those stomping humans they bring out for riot suppression. And in terms of computational ability, the estimate says... That can't be right. Look, Dawes, I was actually hoping you could tell me something about the software and the metadata. Who worked on it and when? Ah, right, okay. Well, that's unfortunate. The editing logs have been purged. That doesn't sound very above the board. Sorry, I can't tell you anything about who worked on Sarah or when. Any chance you could restore those logs? Not here, not with this machine. I'd need the computers that were actually used for programming this model. Any idea where those would be? Sarah? I cannot answer that question with any accuracy. Had a feeling you might say that. Ads, right? Sorry, I can tell you the code is unique. There's hints of the A16 in there, a few of the same conclusions, it's just... Dr. Asher or whoever took very different paths to get there. So Sarah has even less in common with every other android on the side? Sorry, didn't expect to hit a dead end here. Not at all, you've been very helpful. Can we still get the registration done? Yeah, no problem, we got the software and forms all set up here. Occasionally we let a new business partner bring one home fresh from the oven, you know? Oven? Gross. Alright, a few basic questions then. Who's going to be the official owner of this unit? She is. As it says, unless the will disagrees, it's my responsibility. Right then. You fine with the designation, Sarah? We can set it to anything you like. Well, actually... Never mind, Sarah will do fine. Okay, this part's all standard. Civilian model, address, contact info I can get from your crumbs. Do you want to reset to factory defaults? Could clear up a lot of quirks. Not right now. The last thing then is the grading. I'm reading 23 tenants here, nothing too far out of the ordinary. 23? That's higher than I expected talking with it. She seemed more malleable than that. Don't blame yourself. Guessing tenant count from outward appearance has been a crapshoot. Not like it used to be. Used to be they only had 3 tenants total and every unit had to have them. Then came the first accidents and the first lawsuits and then the hearings and the legislature and the demand for more tenants. See, in case you don't know, the core 3 tenets of robotics have existed since 1942. They are, as such, apparently from the Handbook of Robotics 56th edition, 2058 AD. Very telling. I'm going to have to read some Asimov. A robot may not injure a human being or, through an action, allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first tenet. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second tenets. I'm editing some words there to just make it fit within this fiction. But it looks like I'm going to need some money to buy some Asimov. A tenant making sure ads couldn't endanger the state. A tenant stating that ads wouldn't divulge private information without prior consent. There's a campaign calling for a tenant to weigh child and adult lives equally during risk assessment. Thank fucking Christ. There's a campaign calling for a tenant to do the opposite. Yeah, fucking... Companies want their asses covered. Customers want guarantees. There was never much incentive to deny a requested tenant, so the list just ballooned. Until the military entered the market in full force. Sound like you don't approve. Wouldn't go that far. They need their head to be able to pull the trigger when ordered to, without clearing 5,000 lines of bloated, hard-coded decision points to get there. I get that. But since the armies are the only ones using tech with bare minimum tenants, all the best, least cluttered, most elegant tech code is only used for war games. Not very romantic. Well, not like I was on the jury. Department of Advanced Defense Projects v. Zenith Dynamics. Supreme Court sided with the military's requests and set a new precedent that every other army around the world would race to meet, changing tenants from a mandated list at the root of every ad source code to a choose-your-own checklist. It's funny, ads with the most tenants, they're so locked up you can't even have a conversation with them. And outside the armed forces, the only ads with single-digit tenant counts are just vacuuming floors. The most impressive ones, like what you've got here, fall somewhere in the middle. Sorry, went on a tangent there. Only thing left is the evaluation. What gets evaluated? Total financial worth for insurance purposes. Yeah, the insurance companies make sure that we had very accurate algorithms for this. No room for human error, they insisted, with no sense of irony. Wow. I mean, I knew it was custom, but what price could they have possibly... That's a lot of digits. You should know these formulae are pretty conservative with their estimates. Stingy, even. Sarah's really David's last and greatest work. They say some things are priceless, but when you force an insurance algorithm to pick a number, try not to get any scratches on it, I guess. You spoke differently back there. With Dawes, you spoke like he did, it seems. Like I copied his accent. You seem to mirror his affect, his tone. It's called being friendly. What's your point? It was just an observation. You can choose to keep those to yourself, you know. No tenant required. Why were you so concerned about registering me in the first place, Adonai? For the same reason I wouldn't drive around in a car without a license plate? Any cop, or even just a well-placed camera, could have spotted your barcode and seen that it wasn't set up with any actual data. And then they would have arrested me, and then they would have thrown me in the slammer. No, they would have arrested me and put you in an evidence locker. Android can't get arrested. People get arrested. Property gets seized. And then smashed. Great, you put us over the weight limit. I did no such... Morgan Counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Who's asking? Vice President of Android Futures, Helen Young. Should have assumed I still had the opening move. Tell her I'll be right up. I'll redirect your elevator now. Taking control of your elevator is very convenient, forceful. As if Noble is trying to directly steer your investigation. Noble wanted to shut me down. They wouldn't bother to be subtle. Well, I suppose they could simply refuse to cooperate. Or just let the elevator drop. This is all in one day, by the way. Like, this is a very dense day. Right. Speaking first is a sign of weakness, is it? Here I thought I could avoid wading into the swamp of corporate pretend power dynamics. Science is only awkward if you care. I can ignore social cues all day long. I always liked this time of day. Not too muggy for you? No, I never liked a clear blue sky. It always seemed cold to me. You're in luck. The sky gets more colorful every year. As the air quality drops? Childish, isn't it? Marveling at the small sheen of rainbow dancing on the surface of a massive oil spill. Apologies for waxing poetic. It's been a very unusual 24 hours around here. Dr. Young. Just Miss is fine. Miss Young. I get the feeling you didn't bring me up here to talk about the weather. No, I brought you up here to express my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you, though I could say the same. I know you and David worked together for many years. Yes, we did. But as much as I'd like to just drop everything and process, the company wheels don't stop spinning for anything. Or anyone. Was Dawes of any help? She sent him, trying to be helpful or just trying to control the narrative? He was great. That must mean you know why I'm here. I don't want to make assumptions. No need. I'll be explicit. Here as an officer of the court, which means I'm bound by law to document every rock I turn over and every person I speak to. Yes, the lawyers made that all very clear. Lawyers? You have an android? It's not one of ours. You can tell that quickly? Got all the faces memorized? It's easy enough to remember the major archetypes we use, yes. If you're nuts about your work, maybe. It's a frequent acquisition. Very recent, in fact. One of David's last requests, apparently. David asked you to take it? I've been told you've been to David's estate already. The police gave me full access to the scene. Then you know he wasn't alone last night. Yes, there was a single witness who met with him and called emergency services when he fainted. I was that witness. Yeah, I saw that coming. Really? Obviously. There aren't that many people David would bother meeting with in person, let alone welcoming them into his home and offering them a drink. I also knew that Young was his superior. On paper, though not in fame. I knew that the witness had Executive Plan 3 insurance. So they had to be higher up than David. Yeah. Well then, do your lawyers know we're having this conversation? Of course. They're pulling their hair out about it as we speak. Can't imagine why the police cleared you. You're well within your rights to ask for some privacy given the high-profile nature of all that's happened. So why call me up here? Why cut through all the red tape your lawyers painstakingly hid you behind? Eventually you, or some clever lawyer like you, would get the record opened, through legal means or otherwise. The company's enemies are legion, and they have a prying knife for every occasion. Still, that would have taken time. Time you could use to get ahead of what could be the biggest PR hurdle Noble's ever seen. Touché. And so perhaps the truth of the matter is that I simply didn't want to hide. David was my colleague for several years. If I were in your shoes, I would have questions as well. You're doing this for my sake? No, my reasons are purely selfish. I'm only hoping that talking to someone whose job isn't to defend me from all the consequences might prove therapeutic. She wants to play confessional, that's fine by me. But is that really all that's going on here? Why don't you start from the beginning then? You went to his home last night? Yes, at around 7:30 p.m. The building's penumbra captured all that quite clearly. You felt ill around 8, so you spent half an hour together. Why the late call in person? We had an intense discussion yesterday afternoon. David never came in on Saturdays, and I didn't want to spend the weekend glaring at him through screens, so I visited, and he let me in, and we talked about the good old days, if you can believe that. Back when we were both new to the company, eager to make a name for ourselves. How long ago was that? 7 or 8 years ago? Miss Young? Putting a number doesn't sound that long ago, but it feels... It's been a while like that, just talking. He was lively and sharp, and I never would have thought that a few minutes later that he would be dead. That he would commit suicide in front of me. Firm reply. What happened? 8:15, he said he wanted to toast. He got up, walked back into his workshop, and then he must have went down into his basement to get us a bottle. Checked some messages in the meantime, enjoyed the view. In other words, she stayed on camera. Came back up with a bottle of whiskey and 2 plastic cups. We drank and talked. He got quieter, spoke less. Thought he was just getting drunk. Didn't get worried until he started to fall asleep. You tried to wake him. He wasn't responding. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't seem. Left him and ran to the kitchen to use the security system. Didn't think to use your phone? No. Suppose I didn't. But it worked out. The penumbra's emergency protocol summoned a VTOL straight to his helipad with one button press. When I returned to the parlor, he was limp. Moved him to the floor as delicately as I could. He had a heartbeat, but just did what I could until I arrived. You went with him to the hospital, I take it? Yes, they insisted. They checked my vitals and ran a tox screen, which came back clean. So did David's, for all the good it did him. Wasn't paying close attention to what they were saying at that point. I'm sure they ran through every step of the CCE SOP. That's what they're paid to do. You seem certain that it was suicide. Yes. Why? As I said, he got quieter as the time passed, and he spoke last. But the last thing he said to me, the last clear thing he said, was that he was happy ending it here. Said he was content. And he downed his glass after that. He drank every last drop. Does that sound like David Asher to you? Curious, restless, perfectionist David? No, I guess it doesn't. You said CCE, Standard Operating Procedure, a moment ago. What is that? CCE stands for Counter Corporate Espionage, which is just industry double-speak for corporate espionage. Corporate espionage. Only used in self-defense, you understand? So Noble anticipates employees at your level getting poisoned. They give us all kinds of CCE training. Subtly, of course, usually disguised on the itinerary as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations. They train you to expect to get murdered at these leadership workshops? Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely, they'll want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources in a hospital bed while our position sits vacant. That's smart, like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's terrible. Like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas in order to strain the enemy's medical resources. I love Sarah so much. Pardon. That's nothing compared to when they want to turn an asset, feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosable malady, or become our mole and we'll send you the antidote every 2 weeks. That's a nasty piece of work. It's a nasty line of work. Consulting. I'm sorry. That's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spy on your CV. So every consultant I've met at a cocktail party was actually, it depends. Did they say they're consultants? Or did they say they were in consulting? What did that doctor say? Downstairs. Wait, I can check. Oh, it only goes to the top of the conversation. Dang it. Not just that backlog. Dang. How the hell am I supposed to remember? So do your people think that what happened to David was a deliberate attack? Noble's competitors have been trying to get David for years, and that's the timescale their plans operate on. This was an attack from a rival corporation. The company would have seen it coming. They'd probably have struck first. Wait, hold on. Alright, I think I'm picking up more of what's being put down. I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups? There's a story there. Dave and I got hired around the same time under similar circumstances, had hunted while finishing our higher education. During recruiting, the company claimed to want us badly, but in practice our actual authority was inexperienced and overpaid. It must have been extremely unpopular. You don't mince words. We didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince our superiors that their entire sales model for androids was antiquated and self-defeating. The two of them made the one-point doctrine? That's not the story I've heard in Noble commercials and Noble sponsored media. Come to think of it, that's not a story I've heard from David himself. He had this deadline, self-imposed, but still a deadline. We wanted to get our pitch to the president of international sales by the end of day. 7 p.m. rolls around and people start filtering out. David still has his head buried in diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. The clock hits 9 and even the zombies start heading home. Turn to David, tell him that it's not going to happen. We're nowhere near finished and the day's long since been over. He looked at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat and I've just stopped pitching water, and he says, "The president lives on the other side of the globe. We've still got all night until his end of day." We wrapped up at 4 in the morning, just us and the cleaning staff. Back then, only half of them were ads. He finally sends the message and I'm ready to collapse. I've got nothing. We stared blankly at his inbox for the next 40 minutes, hoping that the harsh light would give us the energy to work through the next day. And we got a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. I've been turned down so many times before, then ignored and placated, passed up and ghosted, but together, David and I, we had finally gotten a win. So David asks if I got anything to drink. Got a bottle of some swill in the cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle. Says he wants a toast. So we sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka to one another, cups we grabbed from the break room, toasting our first victory against the corporate beast. Do you notice how David's hair and skin tone are very similar to Sarah's? Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell. Sounds like a good memory. Plastic cups and liquor, that was our little ritual. So I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. It was ceremony for us. As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you? That's correct. Didn't you join the company around the same time? David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't like playing the corporate politics game, so he was unpopular around here? Not unpopular, no, not the great Dr. David Asher. Misunderstood, perhaps. How so? He could be blunt, demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be, it's just not everyone could work at the same pace he did, not for as long as he did. Even with the whole company huffing those inhalers, they couldn't keep pace with David? Speaking of which, I don't see any at Young's desk. Maybe it's just not something you leave out in the open at her level. So you'd say that his work-life balance was... Balance implies that the two are at odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company. Fascinating. So was he in harmony? No. David always had plenty of suitors, but he was never willing to put the time in. Well, I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on that subject. Right. What do you mean? I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for misunderstandings and double bookings. Scandalous. Day 16 only entered production this year, correct? Correct. Pre-order started last holiday, and we began shipping in the first quarter. Understand that you were instrumental in the success of Warm Androids. Played my part supervising the launch, yes? Weren't you the one who designed Synatonin? The factor that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts? I'm surprised you've heard of that. Did lead that project, yes, but that was years ago. Hold on, I'm getting annoyed by something on my mic arm. I do love how many of these characters are just straight up, like, autistic. At the time, serotonin was little more than a novelty, a dead end. It was until David took the reins on the A16 that we found a use for it. Took the reins? He was lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters. And he designed the synthetic nerves that made all of that possible. David did all that? That's a lot more than just programming. Was he always so gifted in that many fields? Did he fill those roles on the A14 or 15? No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as a software architect. That was his field of expertise, and he didn't wander far. But 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting in on other departments, taking notes. Soon he was joining the discussion, proposing new ideas, and eventually they came to follow his lead. Just like that, just like that. So he just applied himself, and soon he was leading other departments. That's the kind of genius that Dr. David Asher was. Maybe they weren't paying him enough. I mean, he did study all this stuff in college. The company profited the most, of course, but the entire industry benefited from his vision and leadership. It has also been felt for years. So this android, Sarah, even Dawes couldn't find any real details about where it came from. It's not in any of our systems. I'm afraid not. Did David ever talk to you or anyone else at the company about a pet project? Pet? No, he never gave me any indication like that. And if he didn't talk to me about it, seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher on the chain than himself and anyone below him. Frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him advice. He never mentioned me? No, never. Androids don't come cheap. Never heard of him requisitioning parts or resources? There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card? The company's account lists are mirthless, even by industry standards. They wouldn't humor anybody. Not even David Asher. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, there would have been an uproar loud enough that you could hear it in the mailroom. You have a mailroom? Not since the 30s. Just a figure of speech. She's so disappointed about it. I have to wonder what old movies David was showing Sarah. That's so cute. Could have taken resources from the company without leaving a record, but no one would deny David Asher information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself. I don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah. He wasn't doing anything illegal, except the hacking stuff. So why keep it secret? I don't know. But he was private and a perfectionist. Perhaps he simply wasn't proud of his results. Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure this has been a difficult day for you. Difficult day for all of us. A message from Fran? Running out of leads to chase the brat, better have some good news. Are you really going to take this to court? That's my plan. The circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from a criminal charge. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty of whatever he's been accused of. And is that what you believe? That he didn't commit suicide? I guess I haven't decided what I believe. Would you kindly slow the hell down? Sorry, Adonai, was I talking too quickly for you? That wasn't walking. That was speed walking. Up 2 flights of stairs. It's very different. Speed walking? Sounds like a powerful technique. Is this like the... Hold on, I need to DuckDuckGo this word. If my keyboard were set to the right thing. Keep doing it. Ah, it is a characteristic skill from a specific martial art. Footwork in Baji Quan has 3 special features: Zhenjiao, Nyambu, Chuangbu. Interesting. Just let me catch my breath for a minute. Adonai. Is it possible that you are out of shape? No. But since we left the cab, your heart rate has... I'm not wearing the right clothes. Or the right shoes. Is that so? Yes. Also, I didn't stretch or hydrate, and the sun's reaching its zenith. That would have been several hours ago. Do you mean the air temp? You said it would be a short walk from street level, so I prepared myself mentally for a short walk. Then you took off like a rocket. And you did mention we'd have to go upstairs. Are you sure this place is even back here? Reviews online were quite clear. It's worth the trouble finding it. Is what funny, Astrid? Oh, the word? Oh, no, it's just a martial arts thing. Maybe if you're a mountain climber. Oh, yeah, no, it's just a martial arts thing. When I sent Fran hunting for a musician in David's circles, I expected them to bring me someone from the city orchestra or jazz club. Champagne, flute, and teacup kind of musician. But this is the tequila and neon part of town. Should be in view if we turn. Adonai, be careful. Of what? It's a stray, and it's bearing its fangs, too. It could be carrying diseases. You should relax. Adonai, it's growling. It's not growling at me. See? So it's just me that it doesn't like. Too much static. How'd you get it to calm down? It's an animal, not a monster. It wants to be calm. Do you like animals? What kind of cold-blooded freak doesn't like animals? Do you have a pet? No, never have. Why not? Because I don't want to take care of a pet. That seems counterintuitive to me. Well, it makes perfect sense to me, and I don't need it to make sense to you. But you notice you're only this talkative when it's just the 2 of us? Just an observation. You shy or something? Did David program you to have android anxiety? It's generally only appropriate to respond to comments that are addressed to oneself. Today, I've rarely been addressed directly by people other than you. In other words, you're shy. That's not what I... Can I try petting it? There's no law against it. Sarah pet a dog. Ultraviolets. I like that. The establishment. I'm to see if Isaac Porter is as habitual as Fran claims. Do you think Father was close with this man who you've never met? I think he was close with him, yeah, at some point. Some help making that deduction. Fran saw that their data showed a significant cooling of interaction between the 2 of them, particularly over the last month. But Fran also saw a phone call between the 2 last night. So they were close. Do you think they were sleeping together? That is completely inappropriate for me or anyone to speculate about. Inappropriate? Adonai, it's only... I'm getting a very important text message from my private investigator. Excuse me. Did you catch the killer yet? No. What the hell? I sent you his pause. I'm at his position. I haven't spoken to Porter yet. Anyway, there's no reason to suspect him right now. Lame. Surprised you're invested all of a sudden. Isn't David Asher a corporate sellout in your eyes? Everyone's a corporate sellout. But Asher gets respect. If I'm a demolitions expert, he's like a really good architect. That's almost sweet, I think. Asher started out working in Cube. So in the architect analogy, By today's standards, he's like, I don't know. As a kid, he built all of his bricks by hand. Or something. You know that lit homework can help you with forming analogies. Eat this analogy. Beep! I should get a censor beep, it would be funny. Would that be stealing Wheeler's bit? Who cares? I can just give Wheeler $5 when I see him in Meat Space at some point. Did that come through or did the characters break? It's supposed to be a guy giving you the finger. Take a cube as a programming language. Well, yeah, because Tesseract is a 4-dimensional cube. So, well, no. Tesseract is a 4-dimensional square because a cube is a 3-dimensional square, and a square is a 2-dimensional square. What's special about it? Pretty much anything coded in the last 20 years is web-based. You code with the assumption that you'll always be connected. So you can depend on having fat libraries of reference to lean on. And if something does go wrong, your errors get reported to you automatically. But not Cube? You can look it up. But basically Cube was organically for robotics and, like, machinery. Stuff that had to operate in mines under the ocean. Middle of nowhere fields with 0 signal service. So Cube had to be self-sufficient. How rugged. Where'd Escher learn Cube anyway? It's older than dirt. From like the 40s. I don't know. I think his father had a machine shop or something. Vague. Yeah, well, David didn't like to talk about his family. Yeah, I would imagine so, given what he looked like. And I never asked. What did your private investigator have to say, Adonai? Not telling. Alright. Let's see what we got going on. Stage for the talent. Pretty close to the floor. Guess it fits with the whole round table aspect of this place. Everyone's on more or less equal footing, dancing in the dark once you get past the bouncer. Do you think they might have met here? David and Porter? I can't see David walking in here. Because you found the walk so challenging? Because it's too loud to relax and not dark enough to be anonymous. I see. What's that face? You got an opinion to share? The atmosphere's not bad in here, but the music isn't quite... I'll find you a survey to fill out before we leave. What kind of music does an android even like? Early 21st century punk rock. Oh, I love that face! Sarah has taste! Is that just you, or does that go for all androids? I haven't met all androids. I can't speak for them. Wonder what they'd say. If they're smart, they'd say that music peaked with early 21st century punk rock. Debate settled. What kind of reading material gets left out in a club? A tabloid interview? Pardon. You've heard her name on everyone's lips. You've seen her face in magazines and commercials. Then double check to make sure the photos weren't labeled as edited. Now get all your burning questions about her answered here in our exclusive interview with the mysterious young woman who's being called perhaps the only true unanimous vote the net's ever seen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Why the name? People think it's an ego thing. But it was just a random username I picked back when I was grassroots. Then it was a pseudonym to give me a little shade from all the attention. Now it's a brand and I can't change it. Damn it. I would like to... There we go. Can't change it without setting the stock market into a spin, so... You're certainly influential. After partnering with you, Inti saw a 3,000% increase in share price. Yay, I'm happy for them, of course, but to be honest, it's a pain at times like this. She gestures towards her clothes, a plain white t-shirt and gym shorts with no branding visible. To anyone else, it might seem sloppy or even unflattering. On her, it only makes her natural beauty stand out that much more. What are you wearing, by the way? Can't wear anyone unless I'm attending something. If I don't dress like this, all my sponsors fall into bidding wars every time I leave the house. Does it stress you, all that attention? Stress is bad for your skin, right? They say mine's flawless. Can't argue with that. So do you have a skincare routine? Any tips you'd like to share? Be a little bratty. Act a little spoiled. Keeps you young. And how old are you exactly? Everyone's dying to know. 18 to 29, now and forever. Well, however old she is or isn't, Luxury's got one hell of a mind for business. It might do her more good than that face in the end. Maybe. It's one hell of a face. In the meantime, she's powerless. Trapped between a rock and a hard place. If she steps out of line, her sponsors would bleed each other dry in bidding wars for her wardrobe's limited real estate. No skin off her back, she's already got more money than she could ever spend. But corporations can't afford to not keep growing, so they never reach a point where they can afford to lose. If she's smart enough to take advantage of that, good for her. I picked it wrong. Dang it. That one over there. He matches the photo fans sent. Should I approach him now or look around some more? Look around more. I gotta read over the room first. It's the second time I picked the wrong one. No. A bar stocked full of colorful selections and busy bartenders. Hope this isn't the kind of club you can order food in. The only time bar food is any good is when you're drunk enough to forget the taste and the gap between chewing and swallowing. So you can, like, eat things? Yes, I can. What, like Android food? There's no such product. So what do androids eat? Online user guides for Noble's warm models clarify that they don't eat anything in the traditional sense. They get their energy from electrical charging, usually wireless. Whenever they need to eat, it's to replenish specific vitamins and electrolytes. Sounds a lot like what mod users go through with their sports drinks and energy bars, and charger separation anxiety. According to the net, warm androids can ingest nutrient-rich processed carbohydrate pellets if they need to forego electrical charging long-term. Processed pellets? You mean like kibble? Like dog food? No, it is not like dog food at all. Can you buy it from the pet store? It seems you can. How is this something you have to look up anyway? Because I've always just eaten whatever father gave me. Like what? Marbled beef, never hydroponic avocados, foie gras, that sort of thing. I am not paying for any of that. That's a very hot gentleman. Okay, yeah, that's him alright. Looks like he's killing time before his sets tonight. Are you unsure how to proceed, Adonai? I'm sure that you need to hang back. As for me, I'll play it straight. Isaac Porter? What's up? My name's Morgan. I was David's friend. Right now I'm his lawyer. Can we talk? Depends. Were you a friend from work? No. Over here. Thanks, Isaac. Don't thank me yet. I might just sit here, shut my mouth, and stick you with my tab. So what kind of lawyer are you? What kind of friend? His defense attorney. Think you missed the bus on that then, yeah? I'm a friend that needs to know what happened yesterday. Doesn't everyone? Try somewhere else, friendly lawyer. I haven't seen him in weeks. Might not have seen him, but we both know that you spoke with him over the phone yesterday, a short time before he died. How the hell? Isaac. Pretty obvious that you don't want this particular spotlight to linger on you any longer than necessary, so why don't we cut to the chase? No lies, no playing coy. Fine. Sarah. Yes, Adonai? The hell? Is that thing transmitting? I'm not streaming any data now. Porter doesn't seem to recognize Sarah either. One more person David was keeping secrets from. I need to record everything for the court. Fine. You two were together, is that correct? We were together. I ended it. Yesterday. Care to elaborate? On our entire relationship? Look, you can tell me everything once and I can get it on the record, or you can hear the same questions over and over again from 1,000 different cops and Megs for the next 3 months. We met in a bar. I'd seen him come in a few times, each time with someone else, each time talking with his mouth but not looking with his eyes. It ticked me off. His scribbling on napkins and letting his single gin and tonic sweat on the table for 2 hours. His dates would all go to the bathroom or take a call and slip out the back. One of them did make it 10 minutes. He'd still sit there for the rest of the night unfazed. Couldn't tell if he was oblivious or stupid or shameless or the most confident man in the world. He ticked me off. One night things were slow and my set had been cancelled and his date hadn't even bothered to think of an excuse for her bailing, so some white he'd insisted on coming here night after night, just to ignore vapid people he wasn't interested in at a shitty bar with drinks he didn't like. Just said, because I like your music. Man, did that tick me off. It was cute early on. Him being so passionate about work I could barely pretend to understand. I liked that we gave each other space, you know? Felt like we were being mature or whatever. Until there was no until. No one day where everything turned sour. But at some point, I started to understand where his priorities were. How I ranked in them. Like I said, he was passionate about his work. I just wrongly assumed he would also be that passionate about me at some point. So I pulled away a little, wanted to see if he'd notice, if he'd miss me. Testing him like that isn't the biggest red flag in the world. He never budged. I could ignore him for days and he wouldn't be the least bit ashamed to see me. If I picked a fight, he'd never get angry or upset. He'd just apologize. He didn't want to fight with me. Guess he was never invested enough to bother. It was my mistake. Watched him sit there all those nights, not giving a shit when people walked away, and still I had this stupid idea that somehow, for whatever reason, I would be different. That I would be special. But I wasn't, so I ended it. Last night, I called him, didn't expect he'd pick up. Everything prepared to leave a message with an assistant or ad or whatever, but he answered, first ring, without hesitation, shame, or awkwardness, and that ticked me off. So I told him exactly how valued he had made me feel the past few months. Told him exactly how insignificant I felt as the boyfriend of the illustrious Dr. David Asher. And what did he say? He apologized. Then he asked me if that was all I called to tell him. Woof. I hung up after that. Spent the rest of the night wrapped in warm disdain for him and his coldness. He had made that easy for me. I went to sleep hurt but clean, ready for something new. And then this morning I wake up to see that my ex killed himself not 2 hours after he let me walk out of his life without so much as a don't. What the hell, man? What the hell, David? Now you're just the tip of an iceberg of lawyers and reporters and buzzards. Parasites that want to hear about the man who sent David Asher over the edge. Never wanted to be his last lifeline or the straw that broke his back. Just wanted to be his goddamn boyfriend. Turns out that was asking for too much. It's yet to be determined whether David committed suicide. You serious? You don't have all the facts. And you do? Any one of them pointing to anything else? Thought so. Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to it. That's it? No summons? The court has no need for you to retell a sad story like that. The court, huh? Sorry to bother you at work. Sarah, let's go. Your discography is very impressive. Yeah, thanks. And your range is remarkable. So it pained me to see that all your works in the last quarter have been so melancholy. I think... Well, what the hell would you know about any of that? What's the matter? Can't find the words? Need to steal them from somewhere first? Butcher them before shitting them back out? I was not trained on any data sets that... Nah, pardon me. My mistake, really. Not your fault you're only standing here because rich prick nerds were allowed to rob the world blind for most of the century. Sarah, we're leaving. What the hell was that about? He was under the false impression that I was programmed using a massive automated learning model in the early 21st century. Not that. Why'd you talk to him? I wanted to. Just felt I should say something to him. A word of advice. People don't want comfort from strangers, especially when they're androids. They want it from the people they want it from. Coming from anywhere else, it's just corn syrup on a parched tongue. Doesn't matter how sweet it is, they'll just start gagging. You know a lot about people, don't you, Adonai? Compared to you, I'm a goddamn savant. Come on, there's not much time left. Is there still somewhere you want to investigate? Somewhere I need to return to, actually. Porter was right. As things stand, I don't have any evidence that could establish an alternative interpretation of the facts. But if there did exist hard evidence that could prove his death wasn't a suicide, there's only one place I could find it at this point. It's also nearly the end of the stream, so I'm actually probably going to call it here. So let's actually read some stuff. Evidence. CCE. David's autopsy. Redacted presiding. Huh. That's interesting. What the hell is talk screen? Send attending physician back to med school. Send apologies to attending physicians. These readings are a nightmare. Manufacturing mission. Very fascinating. Terms. Flash fab, a method of manufacturing artificial microscopic compounds that utilizes parallel nesting to assemble billions of simple structures in minutes or even seconds. Nanomachines have been around for the better part of a century, but the time and resources required for their construction was through traditional means was historically prohibitively expensive, limiting exploration and investment in nanotech. In the years since flash fabrication's introduction, use of and demand for nanomachines has exploded, and scientists, doctors, and product designers found brand new niches for them across every industry. Neobility, slang term for the nouveau riche, new money families that have arose in the second half of the 21st century amid global economic turmoil. The name carries a negative connotation as meant to criticize the way said families supposedly style themselves as nobility, or even as a second state that administers global power alongside the first and third. Never Hydroponic is a movement calling for sourcing food exclusively from farms utilizing natural sunlight. Lobbyists for the movement have made unsubstantiated claims about superior taste or nutritional value, but the label is yet to receive official state recognition. Thus the process of the term or terms like it, presence of the term or terms like it, on food packaging carries no weight. It is not backed by any legal guarantee. One of a number of food sourcing movements that arose in the later half of the 21st century as rising sea levels reduced the total number of arable land around the world and shifted the global agriculture industry towards hydroponics and vertical farms, rural skyscrapers where each floor is utilized for food production, saving on real estate costs and reducing the impact of unstable weather on agricultural output. Biomonitor is that's the shortened to Biome. Okay. Cube was a tier 5 programming language used in mid-21st century robotics. Support robust behavioral trees in low data stream environments. Its design philosophy emphasized lean, goal-oriented learning that would not be reliant on the bloated libraries and always online API popularized in the 2030s. Rousseau Fluff. That's... Sorry, this is such a, trans feminine handle right here. This is such a trans feminine handle. Fritz began working on Cube in 2044 as part of a student robotics project. Point 0.9 released in 2045, and by 2048, 3.1 had already found itself embedded in robotics engineering across the globe. Despite having what is considered a relatively high barrier to entry in user knowledge and execution, Cube gained widespread popularity, particularly among disaffected communities, and third world countries where internet access would remain unreliable for the next 2 decades as regional conflicts would continue. Infamously, Contra fighter engineers utilized Cube during the 27-day siege to seize mechanized weapons from peacekeeping forces in a cyber warfare operation that's frequently cited as the key reason to why the siege lasted as long as it did. Cube has not been developer supported since 2063 and is considered a defunct programming language. Because much of its documentation was never ported from the old net, and due to its incompatibility with tenants, there's little to no corporate interest in the ongoing grassroots digital archaeology effort to archive it. Purge. Yep. Figured. Tenant supersystem. Programming framework underlying the development. Yep. Yep. Has ballooned to 113. Wow. Tenants are well known for increasing the decision time lag of programs. This, combined with their engineered inflexibility, has made it such that most programmers aim for a tenant limit below 30. Originally, the one tenant that could not be removed from any program was TNT Safety 0, aka Tenant 0, Tenant 1, depending on indexing. Said tenant dictated that the following program could not produce outcomes that would result in harm to a living person. After the decision reached in People v. Volstance Defense Contractors and the resulting widespread adoption of automated dependence in the military and security sectors, that tenant is no longer required, though tenant 0 may still be added to particularly benign or mundane software as a good luck charm, superstitious ritual, or joke. It's the latest version of the Tesseract programming language, built on top of the tenant system and utilizing global industries. Much greater variety in the number of programming languages in which to code globalization, the standardization, to the loss of countless programming languages. Today, TESS is virtually unchallenged in the global lingua franca programming language. Study and teaching of other older programming languages is mostly done for recreation, hobby, or digital archaeology. Yeah, it tracks. Alright. Save the game here. And I'll say thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Join me tomorrow at 1 p.m. for Be Kind Rewind and our second episode of Hollow Knight. For any updates to the schedule, you can check in on Blue Sky at tautology.systems. If you really liked this stream, please feel free to follow or subscribe, especially because this is my only source of income, and I don't have enough subscriptions to actually get a payout yet. Otherwise, I will... you can also see all the VODs on YouTube at Pleonastic Tautology. And otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day.